The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, this is Tom Lane, DM2's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's The Road Ahead Connections webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Because of the number of attendees we have on today's webinar, everyone's phones will stay on mute. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the question window you see on the lower right of your screen. We'll try to answer everyone's questions at the end of the webinar. If we're unable to get to your question, we'll follow up with you individually after the webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. As soon as the recording is available, we'll post it on our website and on our YouTube channel, and we'll also put a copy of today's presentation material up on our website as well. Before I introduce the other presenters with me today, I'd like to go over a couple of quick things myself. First, the agenda, covering the intro course. I'm going to hand it over to Chris Lamagna, our Vice President of Technology, to go over a release summary. Chris is going to hand it back to me. I'm going to talk about some of the new partners that we brought on this year. And then Rob Pierce, our Vice President of Professional Services, is going to go over some new professional service offerings that we've introduced. And then Chris is going to finish it up with a look ahead at the road ahead. Okay, what I wanted to touch on before I hand it over to Chris is just talk about the webinar history. You can see we started doing webinars back in 2009, and we did very few, as you can see. We started to do more and more, and then around 2011 we really stepped it up and tried to do a regular monthly webinar series. And you can see the history of the webinars that we have done from that point on. Now you can find the last 49 webinars have been recorded, and they're available on the DM2 Software YouTube channel. You can see the hyperlink right down there to get at it. One of the things that I would encourage you to do when you visit the YouTube channel is if you look at the playlists, you'll see that we've categorized each of these webinars. So you can see there's webinars on all of our what's new or under one category. Any of the operational efficiency related webinars we've done under the operations category there. So it makes it real easy to find the webinars that you're looking for there. So actually today makes our 50th webinar recording, and we'll have that up on our website by Monday at the latest. Other thing I wanted to talk about is our 2016 trade show and conference schedule. You can see we're heavily involved in a lot of industry events. We attend most of the major regional and national trade shows, and then we're also heavily involved with the Sigma organization. We not only attend 3 out of the 4 quarterly meetings, but we attend a lot of the smaller share groups, and you can see they specialize in particular topics that DM2 has some experience with. Now, if you go to our website, you can go to our events page, and you'll be able to see all of these and see exactly when they are, where they're located. On that note, I'm going to hand things. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Before I hand it over to Chris, just wanted to touch on the partners that we brought on this year. Towards the beginning of the year, we brought on Avalara, and we basically kind of re-energized the partnership that we used to have with Zytax. Avalara acquired Zytax last year and has kind of revived that, so they approached us about tightening up our relationship. So we've developed a connector or an interface that allows you to export information from our TaxLink engine to the Avalara Returns Excise service to allow you to use them for electronic filing purposes. You can see some of the benefits listed there. And you can also go to the YouTube channel and look at the Avalara Returns Excise webinar that we did, I believe, in February of this year. The other partner that we took on, we became a Sage HRMS reseller, and our primary motivation to do that was to give customers who are upgrading or migrating over to the new Sage 100 Premium or SQL database platform, gives them a payroll solution. The old legacy payroll module that you used with the standard and advanced packages is not compatible with Premium. So we took on Sage HRMS to give our customers a payroll solution with the SQL database. Now, in addition to that, there are a whole lot of other employee-related features available through Sage HRMS, and if you go back and look at the YouTube video for that webinar, which I believe was January of this year, you can find out about more of that. Now, we actually have one of our consultants, Denise Austin, is just about finished going through the payroll certification. So going forward, we wouldn't have to rely on Sage's professional service group to implement that. We'd have the ability to do that in-house. So that's a big step going forward with that. And then last but certainly not least, we partnered up with Century Business Solutions. They are a credit card processing option. They are actually a Sage 100 master developer. So they have created a seamless interface that will work with your existing Sage payment module, which is now standard with all of the systems that we sell. So we want to, we welcome these new partners, but we also want to recognize the fact that we've got a lot of existing partnerships. I'm not going to go through all of this just to save time, but you can see we've got partners in a variety of different areas, many of which are also Sage 100 master developers like DM2. And then we've got quite a few supply chain integration partners. As you know, we've got interfaces for buybacks, rebates with most of the major oils. You can see them listed right there. And then we interface with most of the card lock networks and a lot of the different equipment that you'll find at those card lock sites. So those are partnerships that have been around for quite a while, but we keep progressing those and moving them forward. And as most of you are in the card lock area know, there's a lot going on right now with that, with all the acquisitions and mergers with the card lock companies. Now I'm going to hand it over to Chris Lemagne, and he's going to walk you through the benefits of the framework platform that we introduced.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Tom said, my name is Chris Lemagne. I'm the Vice President of Technology for DM2 and pretty much the alpha geek here. And what Tom had asked me to do and what we've been talking about is kind of give you a little bit of a recap of what we've been working on, what we've been doing, why it's important, and what it means to the future. So I put together, I tried to keep this as entertaining and consumable as possible. I can really slide off into some pretty technical stuff, so my partners in crime here will keep me in check. So the very first thing I wanted to talk about is this term framework. We've been kind of touting this for a little while, and it really came to power in the new 2013 version of DM2. Specifically, what we did over the last 5 years, and Sage over the 5 years previous to that, is rewrote the entire system from scratch with the idea of scale, with the idea of accessibility, with the idea of speed of development, with the idea of lower cost of ownership. All those kinds of things went into it. So every line of code across the system was rewritten. From your perspective, it works very similarly to what you had before, but it is all new under the hood. And there were some real goals that were part of that effort. What we recognized is, and what Sage recognizes, is that we need to really scale to a larger transaction flow and user counts. So traditionally, you're really operating in the 10, 20 users. Now it's 50 to 100 users with user counts over 200 at several customers. So the idea was that that user count's growing and the amount of transactions that everyone's dealing with. So when you're growing organically and you're acquiring new territory or you're moving into new states, you're getting larger and larger transaction flows. So we recognized that we needed to have technology and systems in place to support that growth. Second piece was the lower total cost of ownership through less expensive upgrades. We spend a lot of time here at DM2 working on the new technologies, the latest innovations in the petroleum industry, and getting that technology out and into your hands. The process that you have to go through to get to that, those new features and new things, is an upgrade. And we recognize that it's to our benefit and to your benefit to be on the latest platform that DM2 offers, but what we want to do is really make that accessible. So we wanted to get that cost down, get that process more seamless, get some of the variables out of it so that it could be have a higher quality and a higher first pass yield. Also faster and less expensive custom programming. Just about all of you have some piece of custom programming, some more than others, but we wanted to get that process down to where it was less expensive to do and faster to deploy, where we could do that work much more quickly. So that translates, of course, to the cost that you have to pay for custom, as well as the timing of that custom, and that all feeds back into the upgrade process. So as you're upgrading to the later versions, trying to really manage that whole situation. We also really wanted to get our timing of our DM2 releases closer to the Sage releases. As all of you know, we're built on the Sage 100 platform. Sage comes out with new versions about every year. We've been following anywhere from 6 months to a year behind those releases, and we wanted to get closer to the release time, of course, to be able to provide those new features and functionality that Sage introduces to you in a much more effective and quick manner. So that was very important to us. The other was to extend more in-user customization capability. So something that was very important to us was your ability to customize the system to your needs. A lot of you now have IT departments or very technically savvy users, and we wanted to offer tools and solutions that would allow your IT departments and your IT personnel, whether official IT or IT as a sub-job, to have more access to the system. So more openness of the entire system to tools you may be familiar with. So Framework really is made up of 3 kind of components to make it, to sort of explain it in pieces. One is an API or application program interface. One is offering the SQL database, Microsoft SQL as an option. And then the big cog here is this code isolation, which is really what caused a lot of the rewriting that went on. And I'm going to start with code isolation. So in the past, when we enhanced, so like we said, we're built on the Sage 100 platform. When we enhanced either through a DM2 feature, standard feature, or through customization for you, we had to actually modify the Sage program itself. So we would actually open up the Sage program, make changes under our master developer agreement, and then deploy those changes to you. The problem with that, of course, it's pretty obvious, is if Sage changes something, that all has to be done again, or if you're in an upgrade and you have custom, we have to do it again. So over and over again, we're having to redo the same programming during an upgrade cycle or doing customization, constantly changing those Sage programs. Serious disadvantages are time and also quality, because every time you go in to do this, you risk the chance of breaking something else in the system. It's a complex system, and mistakes can be made. So you have that risk of failure and low first pass yield. You also have a risk of it being very, very expensive and having to do that over and over again, wasting time and resources. So when the system was rewritten into Framework, we split the system into layers. In this example, I show that there's a user interface layer, there's a business logic layer, and a service layer. There's also on top of each of those layers, DM2 layers and custom layers. And the really powerful thing about code isolation is that any one of those layers could be replaced without affecting other things in the system. So if you have customization in the business logic layer, we can actually change that customization out or upgrade you to a new version without affecting the services or the user interface or other things that are in here. So you can imagine I've only got 3 layers here, but in reality there could be 10 layers or 15 layers of things going on. Each one of those is independent of the others and can be managed separately. So that allows us to reuse a lot of code during an upgrade, for instance, that doesn't have to be redone in the Sage programs. It also allows us to apply service updates. It allows us to, so we can replace defects or new features by replacing just that layer while the system's in operation. It doesn't require a full upgrade to do that. So this is a big deal. We spent, like I said, years getting our system to this level of interrelatedness, and we're very proud of what we've accomplished. Just so you know, we actually started beginning rolling modules out that were built like this in 4.3. So 4.3 to 4.4 to 4.5 to 2013, over those years, modules have been moving to this kind of configuration. So another really great thing that came along with the framework is that we now are able to offer Microsoft SQL Server as a alternative database in the system. So if you decide to choose Microsoft SQL Server as your database, our StoreLink, our DM2 SQL Intelligence, and the Sage CRM all use SQL native, and so now does DM2 and the Sage 100 platform. So you now have the option of choosing SQL Server as a backend. The advantage to that is SQL scales well. It is an open database system that most IT people have some familiarity with. It's open to a lot of different tools. It has a lot of redundancy. It's very powerful, and like I said, scales well into large transaction groupings. This is optional. You can stick right with the performance transaction database that's there today. That's still an option, or you can move up to SQL. We do have quite a few customers on the SQL Server platform now, as does Sage. Very reliable, robust, and we're very excited about this. This was a really big deal for us. The third piece is the Application Programming Interface, or API. So what that is the way that things happen inside the system. So the system shares information, both properties and properties of things, data elements of things, and things to do with it between programs inside the system. One way to do that is to actually integrate those things directly into the modules and into the programs, which is complex and hard to maintain. The other way to do it is to use something called this Application Programming Interface. So previously, when we wanted to make a change in the system, i.e. add a new function, add a new partner, or help you with some customization, we had to go through and figure out in the system everything that touched that particular function, and then make sure that we provided support for that new functionality across each piece of it, which is complex and time-consuming. The new API builds a bridge of common communication methods between those functions. So now one side of that bridge could be changed without affecting the other side of the bridge. So as a third-party system, it has improvements and things. They don't need DM2 to make modifications to the system. They just need to make sure it's the API compliant. So it allows for much, much easier internal development. It's third-party integration friendly. It can be leveraged by your own internal IT. So your own internal IT people can hook into these objects in this API interface to do some custom work for you. And DM2 new enhancements won't break third-party API integration. So when we have a third party like a DTN or someone like that who's using our third-party, our API interface, as they make changes and we make changes, we won't break that system. Now, one other thing came out of this development that was on our list, and that's called what we call Rosetta, or the DM2 Web API. So everything I've been talking about is kind of the on-prem side of it, where you've got third-party systems or integration things going on that are actually inside your software or inside your location. So this, of course, we operate in a lot of different areas of the software, and we have a lot of different partners. So DTN, Opus, interfaces, automated wireless, Midcom, SmartLogix, FRAMs, on and on and on. So we've had to maintain all of these interfaces at what I'll define as a custom way, where we constantly had to coordinate with them and make sure that everything was up to date, and if they made a change, make sure it was all working. With the new Web API, we can take that concept of application programmer interface and expose that to provide a web connection or an internet connection into those objects. So when these companies that have online offerings, or they have online systems, or even systems just that are at a different location that use the internet for connectivity, this offers a standard way to access DM2 functionality. So a little geek warning, it's a secure RESTful API using XML for data format exchange. To people that are on this that have some IT background that know what that means, RESTful API is a standard way of passing secure data back and forth. So it's recognized by almost all companies. Anybody that's in the web development space knows what that is, and we provide that in our architecture for Rosetta. It currently supports gathering DM2 pricing and placing orders. The very first thing we got asked for was, could we have a way to grab pricing out of the DM2 system and to put orders in. So that was the very first thing we did with Rosetta, is offer that. So we say it can be accessed by third parties. For example, the CRM, Sage CRM solution is right now beta testing using the Rosetta API to be able to create orders and get pricing real-time in CRM, even with DM2's very complex multi-layered pricing, without having to replicate all that. They can also create orders. And another partner, Website Pipeline, we're having conversations about them beginning to use this. Website Pipeline is an online e-commerce system that we offer so that they can get the DM2 pricing and be able to create complex orders, get taxes, all those kinds of things, without having to reproduce all of that. The other thing is it honors any custom programming that was done in your system with no modifications. So if we add custom or you customize something yourself, those things get inherited by this interface. It can be accessed by your own IT, and we'll be expanding this in the future with lots of new capabilities, things like getting customer information, inventory information, that kind of stuff. So real quick, I wanted to touch on the V2013 platform itself. Just a quick feature summary and to call out a couple things I thought you might find interesting. It is full framework, so all this I've been talking about just for the first few minutes is that the system is completely integrated with this framework architecture, API, SQL, and the code isolation across all of our modules. We have a new bill of lading entry, some freight enhancements. We've got a new thing called visual workflow, which is really awesome. We have a bunch of enhancements in CardLink, including multi-network, which we're real proud of. With the upgrade to framework, we gave it the ability to have multiple networks simultaneously inside CardLock. When CardLock was originally written, you were only allowed to have one, so that wasn't that way. In 2015, well, you can have pretty much as many as you want. So we've also added some enhancements to DTN, new AR invoice export. That's actually been pretty popular, supplier contracts, and some additional modification for common carriers. So a lot going on in the 2013 release from a feature standpoint. Wanted to call a couple things out. The first is Sales Order Dispatch Manager. This was actually released late in the 4.5 version, but became standard in 2013. It's an enhancement that provides a new way of viewing pricing and creating sales orders and quotes. It takes pricing and rack information and combines that into a unified view so the dispatching pricing person can pick the best combination that works for that customer and for you at the time. Allows you to maximize margin and look quickly through various terminals to find the best source for lower overall costs. So the idea is kind of a sort of best by thinking, but it allows you to really see a lot of data at once. So this is what the screen looks like. It's a one-stop dispatch screen. You have the ability for products to save those as a template for the customer. So you can say this customer tends to buy these products from these racks, and I want to be able to pull all that up. So you've got the products along the left-hand side. You've got the racks across the right-hand side in a matrix with the quantity. You can see all of the breakdown of cost, their price. It's pulling freight information and several other things. Then you have a one button to create orders or to create quotes. In the bottom left, you can see you can create a quote, send that out to the customer, or you can actually have it create a mass order right from here without having to actually go over to sales order and re-enter it. You select the pickup point, it adds this yellow highlight, then you can create that quote or order, and it will calculate everything based on your selection. Unit price and freight are calculated for the customer. So we take all of that into account for that customer special pricing. And of course, it builds out a sales order just like you would expect. That information, for instance, that loading number can be presented on a document that might be being used by dispatch or actually on the order itself that's going out for pickup. You can also send out those quotes, and there's an email or fax option where you can transmit a copy of that order out to the customer straight from here. And you can also provide a load list for the summary for the driver themselves. So a lot of different capabilities in there, a lot of different options. We do have a webinar that is specifically for Sales Order Dispatch Manager. The link's below, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. Next is Delivery Link. This is a new product we're working on. It's currently in the last stages of testing and moving out into beta. We had some goals for this product. It was going to be, basically a hardware agnostic truck in-truck order and delivery processing system. So think truck automation, but it's really hardware agnostic, and it's meant to be sort of a light product for things like transport deliveries and that kind of stuff. So in your mind, you can picture somebody's holding an iPad or an Android device. They're seeing their orders on the device. It's telling them their route that they need to go out and make deliveries. When they go pick up the product at the rack, they can record that information. They can then go out and fill those orders using that iPad. Then when they return, we download. Well, actually, it all happens. It's all wireless over the cell network, but that data then gets passed back to the home office, so you can record that bill of lading, pick up, and do your pricing and invoicing. So it's a lightweight truck handheld system. It was designed to handle delivery management without a large upfront investment, so you didn't have to put dedicated hardware on the truck. It's simple to get started with and deploy. It's a fully hosted system that requires no or very few modifications to your software. It will work offline. If it gets disconnected from the home office, it will continue to operate. And the truck systems can use off-the-shelf hardware from multiple vendors. It's hardware agnostic. And it's accessible by common carriers. So a common carrier who's using a laptop or using an iPad or using their iPhone or using their Android phone can access this. So you could actually have a common carrier integrated into your delivery system without them having to buy a piece of proprietary hardware. It does support driver truck inspection sheets, pickup routing downloaded from the ERP. Orders are easily sent down to the handhelds from multiple touch points inside, like a sales order in those areas, in sales order dispatch manager. It handles bill lading data capture, handles sales order data capture, including signatures. All that data flows back to the ERP, and provides data capture for reporting of on-truck performance. We position it as somewhere in between a paper-based system and a fully integrated truck system. For instance, we don't hook directly to the meters. The driver needs to key those amounts in. If you so on the high end, you have a fully integrated system with all of the bells and whistles and printers and things that's integrated into the truck itself. On the bottom end, you have just a full paper-based system, you know, a clipboard and pens kind of thing. So we position it as to be accessible and really meet a need for deliveries and solutions that don't require a fully integrated, full truck system. And we do have options. That full range, we do everything to generate the paper documents all the way up to full truck integration systems with several partners. So this is a little bit of what Delivery Link looks like. This is the login screen. This is the truck inspection screen, so you can see the driver can go around and click on different areas of the truck and then list if there's any kind of problem and sign off that he's done the inspection. This particular screen shows the total products required. It's showing it takes all the orders and looks at what he has to deliver and then says, these are the products you need and what pickup points are coming from, that kind of stuff. This screen actually shows the products that are on board the truck and the orders that need to be delivered. So he's got some product on, and then below there you can see those orders. There's a little closer up screen of that. That's order detail. When he pulls up the orders, you can actually see each individual item that's supposed to be delivered, add any fees, key in vehicle mileage, get driver payroll information, all those kinds of things through the system. And in this case, we're just running this in a web browser, but it runs on anything that has access to the internet as a web browser. It supports HTML5, which is just about everything out there today. The interface is responsive, so it changes based on the device. Tablets such as iPad or Android, or smartphones such as iPhones or Android phone devices can access that data. Desktop computers with web browsers, any device with a web browser, and it's built on HTML5 standards. So nothing proprietary, no apps to download, no app store to download, none of that. It'll work on what you have. For instance, these are some screens showing the interface running on a phone device. In this case, it's an Android phone. So you can see that it scaled and altered slightly, moved some things around to make it readable on that device. Odds are your driver's probably already carrying something like this with them today, just for communication purposes. So you can kind of jump on board with the existing equipment you have. So we have a full webinar on Delivery Link. It's available at our YouTube site. This link will be in the documents this link in the previous one that Tom will upload later. You'll be able to click right through and go right to it, but you can also go to our YouTube site and you can find it on there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob.
Thank you, Chris. So I have just a few slides to go through. We'll talk about the strategic upgrade option, the new fixed fee programming option, how we're handling custom programming maintenance in version 2013 and forward, all of the new framework, and the latest offerings in DM2 University. The traditional upgrade, probably most people are familiar with it. You're generally happy with the system you have. You go through a conversion migration process to get you to a newer version of software, but you essentially have the exact same system you had before. There's not a lot of change in functionality. There's some new features that you could take advantage of, but it's not very much of a transformative experience. You're just getting upgraded to a later version where you could take advantage of new features. Most of that effort is technical in the conversion and migration effort, and it meets the needs of many customers. However, some customers, they wanted a more transformative experience. One of the powerful elements of a fully integrated ERP is you can really configure it to meet the business need. So as you're going through your install, you're thinking about what are our immediate business needs and what are, what's on the horizon, what's our foreseeable business needs, and you try to tailor and configure the system to meet those needs. But over time, the actual external business environment, maybe you made some acquisitions, you got into some new business lines, you had some employee turnover, and they had different thoughts and visions about how the company should go. You might have outgrown how the system was configured 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so a traditional upgrade may not be the best option for you. For those customers, they want more of a new install experience. They want everything on the table. Let's revisit our chart of accounts. Let's revisit our inventory numbering scheme. Let's clean up our customer database. Let's completely look at how we're going to go about our pricing strategy. Everything can be on the table with a strategic upgrade. So the beauty of it is you don't have to rebuy your software. You already own it. So the software comes for free unless you're buying additional modules. What you're really paying for is just the consulting time to go through the new install experience. So you'd go through the classic DM2 9-phase implementation methodology, and most of the investment in this option is focused on analyzing your business case and coming up with best practice solutions to that. So with traditional upgrade, which we're driving down the cost on, the investment is more technical. With a strategic upgrade, the investment is more on making dramatic improvements to the business process. At the bottom here, we have the 2 links if you're interested in one of these 2 upgrade options. For traditional, it's our upgrade team, and for strategic, it would start with the sales team. So you go through a sales needs analysis, make sure you have the software you need for your business case, and then it would roll right into professional services. Fixed fee programming. I'd say probably 80% of current DM2 processes are based on customer requests over the years. And one of the common requests from customers is getting some fixed fee projects. Over in professional services, we've been playing around with this for a few years, and on some of the smaller projects, we're offering them a fixed fee. Recently, with custom programming, we've pretty much went all in. There's a few exceptions, but generally, almost every custom programming project we're doing today is done at fixed fee. And the reason customers typically ask for that is, I want to know what my price is up front. I don't want to write this blank check and be surprised by what the actual cost is. And also, they don't like getting those invoices every single week. They rather just get one invoice towards the end. So we listen to the customers, and we've accommodated the request. That led to how we're handling custom programming in the upgrade cycle. In the old way, in the procedural programming way, every time you went through an upgrade, let's say you invested $10,000 for some custom programming, every time you went through an upgrade, you would essentially have to spend another $10,000 to move that custom programming up to the new version. So the graph on the lower left is showing someone who's upgrading every 3 years. And every 3rd year, they're spending $10,000 to move that custom forward. In the new world, in version 2013 and later, because that's the new framework that Chris was talking to, you would make the one-time investment to get your custom programming, and then after that, it would be handled like the rest of the software. There would just be an annual maintenance component, and that annual maintenance is what's funding us to move it from version to version as you're upgrading. So as you go through an upgrade, there is zero cost for the software. In the old world, you'd have to pay for that custom to go forward. In the new world, there is zero cost to move that custom forward. In this specific example where we have a customer who had $10,000 of custom, they upgraded every 3 years. At the end of 10 years, it would have been $40,000 to move that across 4 times. In the new way, with the subscription component, it would be about a 40% savings over that same 10-year timeline. So what we're hoping is more people will take advantage of upgrading more often to stay up on the latest and greatest features. The last topic I wanted to talk about was DM2 online training. So again, this was a whole initiative that came about through customer request. We've had our obvious one-on-one consulting forever as a training option, and folks were asking for an online web experience for training. Sage University is another thing out there, sageu.com. So Sage has a whole curricula out there you could go look at. And now DM2 has been adding over the last couple of years. So in October, we've got some classes related to Crystal Reports, Business Insights, Visual Integrator, some SQL data warehousing, and the Sage Intelligence tool. November, some more reporting, business intelligence. A real popular one every December is the year-end process. So I just wanted to call out special attention to that. Everybody's going to get this. Everyone has access to this slide deck, so I put on the slide deck, it's kind of in small font, but there's the outline of the class. If you want to see more details about what the content of the class is, what the cost, what's the exact date that it's running, how do I register, you could go out to dm2.com, go to our website, and the upper right-hand corner, there's a drop-down on the How May We Help You, and one of the options is I would like to register for a DM2 University class. When you select that, you will see the full list of all of the classes available. Then you could click on one of those classes, and it will give you the full detail of what the class is, when is it going to be run, and walks you right through the registration process. If you have more ideas on what kind of class content you want us to add to the university, please just email robp@dm2.com, or you could email really anyone at DM2, and we'll get it funneled to the right people. And back to Chris.
So, can you back it up? Sure. So, thanks, Rob. That was great, and I hope you guys caught that. You know, I was talking about framework, kind of geeking out on you for a little bit, but Rob brought it home and showed you that it does have a material impact on those costs to you for upgrade. And it's incredibly important to us that you stay current. We believe it should be important to you that you stay current. We're adding new features and new capabilities, and we really want you to be able to take advantage of it. It's a major initiative at DM2, is really making that more accessible and making those capabilities known to you and let you get to it quickly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've got going on going forward, just a few slides really, but I wanted to kind of paint a little bit of pictures, some new things we're offering, both from a business perspective and from a product perspective, talk a little bit more about upgrades, a little bit more about how that works, and then kind of give you a little glimpse of some things that are coming down the line. So the first thing I want to talk about is support case portal. We have had numerous requests from people saying, you know, I've created a support case and I really like to see where it is, or they'll call in and say, hey, I need some history on my support case. I'm trying to find a particular issue that we ran into before, or they'll say, I really don't know what all I have open with you guys right now. You know, our company opened several cases and we don't have a tracking system, so, you know, what are we currently waiting on? So we've now adding a new feature to our website called the support case portal. It's a new way to get updates on support cases. It's available from dm2.com. The login is just your email address. The email address has to be registered within our CRM system. We use Sage CRM internally. You have to be a contact on the account that we're aware of, and your email address has to be in that. And then your Sage ID. So everybody has a Sage ID. We decided, let's not, you know, we don't need passwords and all that on this. It's not really that kind of thing. So you just need your email address and your Sage ID, and you can get in. You can view both open cases and all your cases that we have for you, that we've recorded for you, and you can drill down to case movement progress details right from the website. So to get, the first thing is people are going Sage ID. What's that? So to get that, you can go to Library Master from your menus, go to the Setup, go to System Configuration, and then select the Registration tab. And you'll see down towards the bottom there's a customer number. That's your Sage ID. Now, little heads up, recently Sage started changing that number as they moved to a more universal ID system across Sage. So your number may not be in sync with what we have in our database here. So if you find that you're trying to log on for any reason and you can't log on to the site, just drop a note into support just like you normally would. They'll open a case and get you that information. So we can get you your customer number and all those kind of things. But try and look here first. That number should be there. It should match up. It's not common for it not to match. So we'll start there. So get that information. Then go to our website, and you can access this from a drop-down, that drop-down on the upper right.
Yes, actually, when you go to the How May We Help You menu that Rob just showed you, there is now a listing that says I want to track a support case. And then also, if you go under Professional Services, when you hover over that, there'll be a drop-down for support, and you'll find it under there.
So you'll come to this page, you'll feed in your email address and that Sage ID I mentioned, and then it will take you over to this screen. So what you'll see is all the open cases come up. So in this case, they have 4, and you can see the description, the created date, the case number, who at DM2 it's assigned to, what stage it's in, and logged, waiting for the customer. So you can see right here that we're waiting for information from you, what priority it's been assigned, the last time that there was some update to this where we've actually put information in. You can click on that button that's right under Open Cases for Oil Company. That'll actually be your company name there, but you click on View All Cases, and that list will change to show all the cases you have rather than just the open. You can also click on any one of those column headers, click on Priority, or click on Stage, or click on Updated Date, and it will sort that list by whatever column you choose. So you can actually go in and really drill down to and figure out what your open cases, what the priority 1s are doing, what the priority 2s are doing. On the right-hand side, you can see that there's a Details button. If you click that, it takes you down a level further and then shows you what particular stage it's in and the progress. And what you'll see is you'll see where this is kind of the internal dialogue and external dialogue that we're having. So we might have asked a question to get some info on how they're using these printers, they're using different trays for different users. So that's the question we asked. And then we emailed that asking for update, and we're waiting on the customer to respond. So if you looked at this, you'd know right away that they're waiting on me to get back to them with this printer information. So that's conceptually how this works. But you can go in and see any of your cases, like I said, historically that have been that are in this system, as well as see any open cases and new cases you have. It is live today. We have been beta testing this with several accounts over the last month or so. It is working great. We're getting tremendous feedback. We're getting lots of yays and woohoos, and it's about times, and we're all real excited about it. So you can go directly to wp.dm2.com support cases, or as we said, you can choose one of those 2 options right on the main screen to get to access it.
We had some great beta customers, and they gave us some great feedback. One of the questions they asked is that we love this. Can we also use this to submit support cases? And a few folks were asking. Well, that was something that's always been on our website. So because so many people asked it, I just thought I would make it another point here. You have the ability to submit new support cases through the website today. You've had that capability for quite a while. This is just extending to be able to track what's going on with that support case after it's been submitted.
Absolutely. And when you do log in, you do see all the cases regardless of who submitted it for your business. So if you've got multiple people who are submitting cases to DM2, but you are overseeing all of it, you'll be able to see all the cases that are there. So we're very excited about this. Like I said, we're getting tremendous feedback from the customers that were beta testing it, and it's live today on the site, I guess, if you go there right now.
Exactly.
It's working right now. Like I said, if you have trouble logging in, reach out to us, and we'll be glad to help you. Coming through the support department, or really anybody at DM2 can help you. But we think this is going to be big in improving our transparency and visibility to you as our valued partners. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that's come out of the framework and kind of brings it home what I've been talking about, and this is the idea of a patch update. So you remember all that geeky framework stuff I mentioned earlier? What it does is enable some new and exciting ways for us to supply defect fixes and product feature updates to you. Traditionally, we would actually have to, I know it is a complicated diagram, but let me walk you through it. So you have Sage version 4.4 there on the left, and you have Sage version 4.5 on the right. Those are Sage releases. So they're actually where Sage has come out with a brand new library master and a brand new version of their software. In between those versions, which can span 1 to 2 years, DM2 has a series of feature and defect releases. In this case, 4.4.1, 4.4.2, and then that should say 4.4.3. I apologize for the typo, but you get the idea. DM2 has these what we call inter-version releases, inter-Sage version releases. So if you're on 4.4.1 and we discover a defect in 4.4.3, we have to apply that patch back to your version for you, unless you're upgrading between those versions, which a lot of people don't do. So you don't go from 4.4.1 to 4.4.2 to 4.4.3. You might wait for 4.5.1 to upgrade. But if you wanted all of them, you'd have to upgrade between each one of those versions. If we added a new feature that really got your interest, and you were on 4.4.1 and we added it in 4.4.3, we had to then do a retrofit where we had to go back and actually redo that programming for your version. So that requires a lot of labor in there, and this is kind of how we've always been doing it. So what changes with Framework and what we're doing now is it looks more like this. So between Sage version 2013 and Sage version 2015, there wouldn't be a DM2 2013.2.3.4. We're going to supply those as patch updates to the system. So defect patches and new features are continuously released as they become available. So we add a new functionality, we add some piece of new custom, a new enhancements, we add some sort of fix for a defect. We're pushing those out. Right now, honestly, internally, we're pushing those out just about every day. So new features and new defects and things are being repaired and going out into our builds. So there's not really this upgrade process until you get to a Sage version change. So you could theoretically update every time something came out and actually stay as current as someone who installed 2013 6 months later or a year later. So updates can be applied without an upgrade within a Sage version. At this point, this wouldn't work across Sage versions, but works within Sage versions. So as long as you're on 2013, as long as patches are being issued, this works. So now I want to talk about just a little bit about the next version and what we kind of are thinking. And I just want to call out one particular thing. I'm not here today to talk about necessarily features and things that will be in the next release, but I want to talk about those patches. So our next release of our next version of software, our next major release will either be V2015 or 2016, and we're so early in that game that it could go either way. Sage is right now beta testing 2016. We've been doing our work on 2015. We're evaluating whether we want to move up. If that beta program is going well, go ahead and move to 2016 as our next release, or stay with 2015. So we're making those choices right now. But I will tell you that we expect that to come in the first quarter of 2016 for general release. So that either V2015 or 2016, depending on that Sage major release time, would come out. It will be following up with you guys over the next few months with what kind of features will be in there and what you're going to see on the petroleum side and on the Sage side. But I really want to emphasize this point. Remember that patch update process I just talked about? With the next version, this one, we'll be rolling out the ability for you to run those updates yourself. So let me say that again. You would go to a menu, on the system without talking to DM2 necessarily, and you'll see a list of updates, feature updates, patch updates, that kind of thing, intra-stage version stuff, DM2 released enhancements that you will be able to click, read some documentation on, and apply to the system yourself. So you can keep your system current within those stage releases just by running those patch updates. You'll have full control over that. You will be able to apply those patches when you're comfortable and with your timing. We are going to have different levels of patches. Some of them, kind of the way to visualize it is think about green, yellow, and red patches. Some of them will be green, which means no problem. There will be defect fix. It's great for everybody. You don't need to worry about it, and it will not functionally alter the way your software performs. There will be yellow updates. Those are things that have some setups that you might need to do. And so that will include some documentation that you'll have to agree to that you've read and you understand. There'll also be red updates. Red updates are critical updates that may alter the functionality of the system in a way that will require some additional training, and you will need to contact DM2 to get a sort of product key to authorize that update. So we need to be sure basically it's ones you can do yourself without talking to anybody, one you can do by yourself just by reading the instructions and understanding them, and the third one is one where we need to confirm that you understand the implications of applying this patch. So we're going to provide a lot of control for you and some control for us to make sure that everything stays stable and operates properly. Eventually, custom programming will be rolled into this process with a future release that will operate the same way. So as we release custom programming for you, it will go in as an update also. So this is something that we're working on for 2015 and 2016. We're very excited about it. This will be, of course, paired up with some new exciting petroleum enhancements, some new exciting Sage enhancements, and we're really going to be proud of that release. Now, a little secret, we've been doing this with 2013, but DM2 has been installing those patches. So we are going to bring a subset of that capability back into 2013. So those of you who are on 2013, they're currently in the process of upgrading to 2013, you're going to get a version of this too. So you will be able to update your system and those kind of things. In fact, our beta testing, everything will actually run on 2013 and then be moved up to 2015. So you're not going to have to go from 2013 to 2015 to get this functionality. We're going to provide a version of it for you. Finally, I want to talk about the user conference. We've been getting a lot of requests to have another user conference. DM2 in the past, for those of you maybe who haven't been DM2 customers for a while, up until about 3 years ago, we had an annual user conference. We put on a big event at the Eastern Lodge in Vancouver, Washington, and you guys would come in and we'd offer some training, we'd offer some release information, we'd offer just a chance to chat with DM2 folks and chat with each other. You know, do a little networking and see what other people are doing, and it's been really great. We ran that annually, and then we backed off of that. Unfortunately, kind of at the last minute, we ended up not having the turnout that we wanted. Now, I want to make a point. This was kind of right after we kind of had the economy downturn that we had. So a lot of people weren't traveling, they weren't spending the money. That's, of course, behind us, but we were concerned about the turnout and everybody being happy with what they got, so we ended up canceling it. But I'll say this, yep, we're going to bring back the user conference for 2016. We will have it. And no, it will not be canceled, no matter what the attendee sign-up is. So we're not going to pull that. We're not going to do that again. We're not going to cancel at the last minute. So those of you who are raising your fists in the air and shaking them at us, no, we're not going to do that to you twice. Like I said, we're getting some interest and pressure from customers. I would really appreciate it if you would reach out to really anyone at DM2, sales reps, professional services, account managers, support. Just let people know that you're interested in coming and that you're excited about this. I'd really love to hear from you guys early and often about, looking forward to the event. But it will be here in Vancouver, Washington again, and we will be releasing the dates shortly, so keep an eye on your email. So we're going to send out when the dates will be for next year, and we'll also provide more details on content and those kind of things as that becomes defined. If you share your information with us and share the kind of things you'd like to get out of it, that will shape the way we approach it. So be sure to let us know that you're interested. Let us know that you want to be part of it. Let us know if you have suggestions on ways to make it better, especially those of you who've been to them before or been to other companies' user conferences. We love feedback, and we'd love to hear from you about that.
All right, thank you, Chris. Thanks, Rob. You guys did a really nice job there. For those of you who have attended previous webinars, this is the time where we plug next month's webinar. So getting, the topic obviously is getting ready for year-end. Rob had mentioned that we are holding the formal class, the DM2 University class, in December, but we are going to hold a webinar on November 12th at the usual time, 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Central, or excuse me, 2:30 Eastern. And Denise Austin, who has done this webinar before, has updated it. She's going to go through the differences between month-end and year-end processing, the advantages, disadvantages of a 13th period. She's going to go over the year-end preparation process, the proper order when you're closing out modules, and then she's going to touch on payroll updates. So we encourage you to join that. When I send out the email to let you know today's recording is available, I'll also put the first formal invitation for this webinar out there for you to register on. Now we'll open it up for any questions. I know we're running out of time, so let's take a quick look, see what we have here. We do have a couple of questions that came in. Okay, the first question is regarding our sales order dispatch manager. Can you override the price? I know of people who have been that have pricing set up but will tweak it depending on what might be going on. They are maximizing their margins.
Yes, I'm not 100% sure you can modify it right in the dispatch manager screen, but you can actually modify it at the sales order level. So you could theoretically have it create the order and then override it, but I don't think you can actually make the modification right in the manager screen. I think that was one of our people.
Yes.
Okay. Lisa, if you drop a quick email out to Roxana, she can answer that for you. Roxana designed this feature, and she'll be able to tell you exactly how to handle that.
Okay, that looks like the only question we have at the moment. We are pretty much here at the end of our hour, so I wanted to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. I know that's a lot of information, so what I always tell everybody is after the webinar is over, if you think of anything, please feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com, and we'll go ahead and answer any of those questions. I just want to remind everybody that today's webinar has been recorded. Once the recording is available, it should be Monday at the latest. We'll post it on our website. I'll also put a copy of today's presentation material up on our website for you to download and view. And as I said, if you can think of any questions after the fact, feel free to contact us at sales@dm2.com. I want to thank Chris Lemagne and Rob Pierce for doing an excellent job on their presentations. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's The Road Ahead webinar. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.